We're back with another review and some explanations on some things that's going on with Star Wars. I'm a little late in doing this. This actually came out the later part of the 30th and first part of Legacy, but all these things linked together here. I noticed in stores, I routine the stores regularly looking for new Star Wars stuff. Mouse and Basso here, and Luke disguised as a lieutenant general, and Deena Shan are kind of a glut. They're just sitting there not selling. Dagger Squadron, he's actually the Lieutenant Pollard of Dagger Squadron. They have the Dagger Squadron B Wing at Toys R Us as a Toys R Us exclusive. That's also not selling. I think these are all pretty good products. I don't think this is really a fault of the products out there. I think it's more of a fault of marketing. As you see, I have these comic books in back. We're going to start an explanation how all this stuff fits together. Last year, Star Wars came out with Dark Horse came out with a comic series, Rebellion. Last year, early this year, and it switched into the Legacy comic series. It's in between episode 5 and 6. It introduces Deena Shan as a rebel operative, and Basso also as one, and Lieutenant Pollard as a pioneer for the B Wings. Dagger Squadron is the first B Wing squadron ever. They actually saved Deena Shan and Luke and Basso in this comic book, Deliverance. They saved them in a secret mission to the Imperial fuel depot. And all these comic books kind of link together, but I think they haven't had that good of promotion, so I'm going to explain what's going on. It's probably my last review of the day. I am going to try to get the Dagger Squadron B Wing next week here, explain this, and I'm not going to do Luke and Deena Shan right now. Actually, her leg is slightly warped. She's standing on a Jar Jar stand here. We're going to start with Mouse and Basso. They are from the 30th anniversary. They were sitting there for months at Fred Meyer. I actually picked them up. I think they might have had a sale. I just broke down and got them. Wanted to see what they were about. Then I went to my local comic store also, and I was reading, Basso shows up a number of times in this comic series. Not all of them in Imperial outfit, but for this scene he is. Mouse here, he's a Doro. If you remember the Doro, they were briefly in episode 4 in the cantina. Of course, they're not dressed as stormtroopers. He's the first Stormtrooper Doro in disguise. He doesn't have gloves on, but it does say in the comic book he does have some trouble with the gloves. But these both are based heavily off the 30th anniversary Stormtrooper. I'll go through articulation and everything with you. They both have a removable helmet. Basso, unlike Mouse, has an orange shoulder patch indicating higher rank. They both come with an E11 blaster rifle, a holster for that blaster rifle. They've got a ball-jointed head, ball-jointed chest. I really don't like that, as I've said before. They've got movable shoulders, swivel elbows, swivel wrists. They sit down well in vehicles, swivel hips. Their knees bend, and their ankles bend. If you have the 30th anniversary Stormtrooper, the bodies of these guys are going to be really familiar. They also have the grenade in the back, unremovable. I was hoping Basso could actually hold the backpack for the Sand Trooper, but he couldn't. He looks a lot like a Sand Trooper, the 30th anniversary Sand Trooper, but he isn't, and he can't hold the backpack, but that's all right. You actually see him in my Arrival of Grand Admiral Thrawn diorama. He's the lead Stormtrooper. I'm going to give these guys, for articulation and everything, since the 30th Stormtrooper is not my favorite, they get a 7.25, but that said, I did feel they needed this explanation of how they link together with the comic books. As I said, I know a lot of collectors out there, they just collect the toys, they don't read the comic books. There's probably a lot of comic book people who don't collect the toys, so I wanted to kind of make the link here. They come with this comic book. We're going to look through it really quick. This is Mouse on the front. And they link directly with the Deena Shan and Lieutenant General comic book. Here's actually Luke right now as Lieutenant General, Deena Shan in here. They've got some other Stormtroopers in this comic book Rebel Commandos disguised as Stormtroopers. They're not real Stormtroopers. They all infiltrate this Imperial base. I don't want to spoil the comic book for the people out there who want to get it, but I didn't think this happened originally. Luke meets up with a guy he does mention very briefly in the movie. If you remember the episode with his aunt and uncle, he mentions Tank, and he mentions Biggs Darklighter. We all know Biggs Darklighter, but he briefly mentions Tank in the movie. I went back and watched it. They introduced Tank as an Imperial officer here. I believe this is Tank. This is Luke's friend as a kid. So they introduced Tank for the first time, I think, in anything, even though he's mentioned in the movie. And the artworks and everything is pretty good with this comic pack. They actually release a larger comic book for this series. I saw it in my local comic store. I think it's directly together with the Deena Shan and Lieutenant General comic book. It has the same cover though. So the whole pack is going to get a 7.5. If you want to look at this comic really quick, they've got Dagger Squadron on the front. They're not in the Dagger Squadron paint though. Basso is here and Deena Shan, but they're not in the Imperial disguise. And I did get the last of these comics. It's actually links together with the current Legacy Collection comics. So if you want to start reading those, I think you'll find it a good read if you're a Star Wars fan. This is Supreme, and I hope you enjoyed my little explanation on what's going on with these comic packs. And I hope you watch my next week's reviews. I'm going to do Deena Shan and Luke and the Dagger Squadron B Wing. May the Force be with you. Thank you.